Alright y'all, welcome to another Fatal Rose Creations tutorial. Today we're going over making clothes once again, but we are doing it in Blender 3.6.7 specifically this time. Not 3.6.10 or 3.6.11 or 3.6.5, 3.6.7. Because there's some kind of glitch where sometimes shit don't work right with the other ones, so we're doing 3.6.7. First things first, let's go into Marvelous Designer. So, you want to make sure your settings look like this. It's very important that your unit is set to millimeters because if it's set, I think it originally generates something different and then your crap looks all big when you export it and you don't want that. So, we're going to open up Marvelous Designer and go from there. The first thing we want to do is get a avatar. So we're going to go to File, Open, Avatar, and you should have avatars saved. So I'm just going to go to where mine are saved and bring in a female avatar. Now the next thing is to decide what we want to make. Okay. Alright, so I found a little outfit that I think is really cute. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is draw the shirt, which I'm just going to do a little rectangle here. And I'm going to edit the pattern and just bring it in a bit. And then I think I'm also going to bring this down. Like so. Then I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to right click and then click symmetric pattern, drag it over, drop it. Now you should see two. I'm just going to click one. This is the front one and move it closer. This is the back one. I'm going to flip it horizontally so that the normals are in the right place. Now we're going to segment sew. Another thing I need to do is I'm going to change the avatar. So I'm going to go down here in the property editor to smooth avatar and I'm going to check the box and then change it to 2. And then another thing, I'm going to select all of my mesh and go to the mesh tab in the properties and change it to quad optimized. Alright, now I can move it back up. Alright, so that's the basic shape of the shirt. I'm going to make it a little smaller and then bring it down some more. Alright, something like that is good. Now I want to add little like spaghetti straps. So what I'm going to do is on the top of this box, I'm going to click edit pattern and then click this and I'm going to click split and then check the uniform length and I'm going to push this a bunch of times. That looks good to me. And then I need to draw the spaghetti straps, so I'm just going to use a rectangle, go from one point to another, and draw it, which these are too big, so I'm going to change my split again. Okay, that's a little smaller, rectangle. Yeah, it's a little better. Okay, so now I'm going to take this one, hit segment sewing, and then I'm going to go over in this display and find one on this side because I want it to be crisscrossed. So that's good. And now we're going to duplicate this to do it on the same side. So you right click it in the symmetric pattern. And let's see. This one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's the same spot. And then back here. So we should get something like this. And then what I want to do is make these a little skinnier. So I'm going to shrink it and then shrink the points as well. Alright, that's more of the spaghetti strap look I'm going for. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is add some trim. So I'm going to click this and click offset as an internal line when I right click it. And then I'm going to change it. 10's good. And I'm going to do the same thing to the top. Then I can click this and press cut and sew. And click this and press cut and sew. Now it looks like I accidentally cut the straps. So what I can do is just zoom in and go to edit sewing and then right click and I can hit merge and it'll put them back together. And then I can just delete these points because they're unnecessary. Alright, that's pretty much the shirt drawn. And we'll adjust it some more later. But we just need the basic shape right now. Now we're going to go to the pants. So I'm just going to select this and move it up. And then I'm going to draw a rectangle out here. Now I'm going to draw my pants shape. Alright, then I'm going to unfold these. And I'm going to delete this point right here. Then I'm going to copy this pattern. And copy this one. And just like with the top, I'm just going to click one and move it. See, this is the back. This is the front. So this is the back. Front. Then I'm going to flip these horizontally. All right. Now that I've got that done, I can sew everything together. And I always like to just do the sides first before I do the like little crotchy part. Something's mis-sewn there. There we go. Alright. Then I'm just going to look and see. Sometimes the crotch ends up being too low. So, oh, not like that. I'm just going to bring it up a little. Bring it up some more. That's better. And then we'll close it. So one thing I want to try and do is make these pants flare out a little more at the bottom. So they're a little too long for one. So just gonna bring them up a little, and then I can bring these points out. Alright, so that gives me more of a flared look. And then just like with the shirt, I'm going to change these to quad optimized. And then I'm going to select everything and change the particle distance to 15. Alright, so now you should see it move one more time. Alright, now I'm going to do my final adjustments of the top. Alright, so once you have a look that you're happy with, now we can go about exporting it. And I think I'm just going to pull the pants up a little more. Alright, so that is our outfit done. So the first thing I'm going to do is save this. Okay, now that that's saved, the first thing I'm going to delete is the pants. And I'm just going to have the shirt, and I'm going to move the straps and move this to be closer. Alright, then I'm going to highlight it all and press Control K. You're just going to select everything, go to File, Export, OBJ selected, and then go to wherever you want to save it. And you're going to want to make sure your settings look like this. Select all patterns, single object, weld, thin, 2048. For this, we're going to include internal shapes because we have the internal lines. You need to change your scale to M, and then X, Y up, Z. Make sure this first one's checked and then hit OK. Then we can open up the full set again and delete the top this time. And just do the same thing. So Control K, reset to 2D, fit to number 1, select it, File, Export, OBJ selected, make a new folder for it, bottoms, save, and then your settings should be the same and you can press OK. Then we can save this as a project. So the next thing we need to bring up is Sims4studio. And make sure you have the latest version. And then you want to make sure your Blender connection is the right place. So it should be, you go to this PC, local disk, program files, Blender Foundation. We're using Blender 3.6, and then you're going to click that, open, and that should be the right location. You shouldn't have to change these. Hit save. Now we're going to go to CAS and click Create 3D Mesh and then CAS. Then I'm going to search Nude, and I'm going to look for the nude female top. And then what I like to do, I like to save all my base meshes. So first I'm going to go to where I've saved the set, and I'm going to name it. And then hit save. And then you're going to need to get the nude mesh to build on. So I'm going to press mesh, export, and then you could save it to your top folder, but I like to keep a folder of base meshes and nude bodies. So I would go to adult female and then save it as adult femme. Yep. And then we can put this box up here and open up another Sims4 Studio. Drop it down here and do the same thing, except we're going to look for the bottoms this time, which is right here. And we can name these whatever you want to name it. And the package file name is what people will see when they download it. And then we hit save. And again, you can either export it in the folder that you're working out of, or if you have a nude bodies folder, I can call this adult femme bottoms. Save it. And now I'm going to get my references. So I'm just going to go home, click cast again. And then I'm going to switch the part type to top and gender to female. And just want to get something that resembles what I'm making, which this is probably the closest. So again, I have a folder for all my references, and the name of the package file for this doesn't matter, so I just have a reference package file that I continue to overwrite. And then I'm going to click mesh, export mesh, adult femme, and then I'll name it adult femme tank top crop top mesh. So I can be pretty specific to know how to use it, or to know I can use that one in the beginning instead of having to export a reference every single time if I make the same kind of stuff. And then I'm just going to get another one for the bottoms. This looks pretty close. Again, to my reference folder, package name doesn't matter, so I'm just going to override it. Mesh, export mesh, adult femme. Once I have my references exported, I'm just going to open back up the top file that I closed out. And then we can get into Blender 3.6.7 specifically. Alright, so I realized I got all the way through doing the top without the recording actually being on, so we're just going to start with going through the pants, and it's pretty much the same process, so it's alright. So I'm just going to go to File, Open, and get the nude body from our pants. So my nude body, adult female bottoms, and then we're going to press File, Import, Wavefront OBJ, and get our pants object. And it should look something like this. Now I know you're probably like, oh my god, this looks crazy. Yeah, it's because when you smooth the avatar, it makes it not quite fit the shape of the sim body, but it makes your makes your clothing a lot smoother. If you've ever seen CC that has these like sharp lines through the legs and these sharp corners, it's because their avatar wasn't smooth. And plus, this is nothing to worry about, because what we're going to do is press Tab, go into Edge Select, click this top, press E, S, M at center, and then I'm going to highlight these in the center, get my move tool and bring it down. And then I can go down here, Alt, E, S, M at center. I'm going to bring this one up, and same thing here, Alt, Wall, E, S, M, center, and bring this up. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these forward. So I'm going to click 2 points here and then turn on proportional editing. Then I'm going to press S without moving my mouse, only move the roll wheel so that I can bring that gray circle. And then I'm just going to move it forward. And that should help with clipping on the ankles. We can also move it a little up if we want, and forward. Just adjusting to avoid some clipping potential. Then always make sure you turn proportional editing off, because you'll always find out that you didn't turn it off in the most inconvenient way. So now what we need to do is just go to our Studio Mesh 1, and as you can see, pretty much the entirety of it is covered. So usually you would have, so like with the top, I had to deselect some things because a lot of the top wasn't covered, but since this is all covered, I can just press X and faces. And there you go. You just want to make sure up here at the pants line, you didn't delete anything to have the like inside of the body showing. And since we've deleted all of the faces, we don't need this studio mesh anymore, so we can delete it. Normally you wouldn't delete it because you'd attach it to your pants, but we don't have one, so we'd have nothing to attach. Okay, so just to add extra clarity, so if I have my shirt like this, I've already closed the holes and stuff. So if I'm going to delete the faces on something like this, I only want to delete the faces that aren't visible. So what I'm going to do is press Tab on my mesh, and I can press 1, and then I can go down here and press this button, and you should see where your mesh is different from the shirt. So I'm going to press C while I'm in face select, and I'm just going to deselect what looks to be covered up, or what looks to be not covered up. So just something like that. And then I can just deselect the arms because I know I'm going to need that. And all of this can be deselected. Then I'm going to go back into this mode and clean it up. And all I'm doing is pressing C to get the circle. So this is C, and then to deselect you click your roll wheel. And now, so you press C and then just click your roll wheel. You can hold it while you do this to deselect. And now that I have everything covered up, deselected, I can press X and faces. And then it looks like we have some clippage in the chest here, and we can't get rid of this. Oh, we can't get rid of this point. So we can press X faces again. If we couldn't get rid of this point, say when we highlighted it, it would have like, say it was something like that, we press X faces and now you can see hole. If we didn't want to do that, just like we did with the pants, we would press Tab. I'm going to put it into vertice select, and then click a vertice here and one here, maybe these two. And this is just while I'm holding shift, and I'm going to enable proportional editing, and then press S to make my circle smaller, and then I'm just going to move it forward, and that would alleviate the clipping. And so later, where I was talking about attaching the mesh to one another, so once you get to the end points, once everything's all done, you've gone through the weight paint and the vertex paint, it isn't done on the pants because we deleted all the faces, but what you would do is you would in object mode, you would click on the EA mesh, hold shift, click on your mesh, and press Ctrl J to join them together, and you should get something like this. And then you just want to go to this box here and make sure that the cut number is 0000. And so that is the only difference between having deleted all the faces and not deleting the faces. As you'll see further in the video, when we are finished with the pants, we will go in and change the cut number because it won't have one since we didn't merge it to it. So the next thing we want to do is bring in our reference. So I'm going to press File, Append, and go to where I save my reference files. And you're going to want to bring in all of these cuts and append. So over here, I'm going to delete the bone shape, delete the second rig, and then I'm going to click all of these and press Ctrl J to merge them together. Then I'm going to double click it and name it reference. I'm going to click on my yoga pants, go to add modifier, data transfer. Then for source, I'm going to click reference. I'm going to click vertex data, drop the box down, click it here, change mapping to nearest face interpolated. Then I'm going to go to face corner data, drop it down, hold shift, click both of these, change the mapping to nearest face interpolated, then drop down UV1s and change it to, or drop down layer selection and change it to UV1. Then you need to make sure that you click this button like so. You should see this stuff change, and then you can press apply. It won't transfer properly if you don't generate it. Then we can hide our reference, and first we want to press Tab A, Mesh, Weights, Clean, Mesh, Weights, Limit Total. And then we want to go into our vertex and change into this mode so that we can see our weight paints. And we just want to make sure that our weight paint looks nicely distributed. It's always good to check it against your reference just to make sure it looks good. But yeah, you just want to make sure that these look good. And then you also want to switch to vertex paint and make sure it's green. So we're good to go there. So we can go back into object mode and delete our reference. And then since we aren't merging this to the EA mesh, we want to go down here, which you have to change the cut number anyway, but we want to change the cut number to 0000. And then we can fix the UV by pressing Tab A. Click this to make sure it's the same over here. And I'm just going to drag this. Well, actually, I don't need to move it because there's no EA mesh to cover. So I'm going to press X, open, and I'm going to go get my template. And then I'm going to press SY.5 to bring it back to its normal size. And then I'm just going to scale it till it fits here. And I'm going to take the waistbands and face select and move them just over here, just in case I want the waistband to be a different color than the rest of the pants. Alright, once you got your UV in place, the next thing we need to do is unwrap it. So the next thing we want to do is select all of these faces and press U unwrap. And then we can shrink it down and put it over here. And same thing for the ones at the bottom. Press U, unwrap. right, once we have those in place where we want them to be, we need to select these and press Alt M and then click Faces by Edges. And then we can get rid of that. And that should be everything to make it game ready. So we can file, save as, done. And now we want to get a ambient occlusion. So I'm going to highlight everything and go to the shading tab. And then click New. Press Shift A, Texture, Image Texture. You don't have to connect it to anything. Now press New, 2048 by 4096. And hit OK. And then over here, I'm going to change this to UV Editor. Now we need to go to our render properties and check these two boxes. And then we need to switch to cycles because you have to render to cycles. Then change your denoise and your samples based on the strength of your computer. I have a strong computer, so I'm going to change it to 1000. The higher the samples, the clearer the ambient occlusion will come out. Then we're going to go down to bake. Change bake type to ambient occlusion, and then change size to 5, and then hit bake. And the reason why we're doing this is to get ready to go into texturing. So once it's done, you should get something like this. If you get it and it looks like this, that means you didn't hide the rig. It's very important to make sure you hide the rig. I didn't do so I could show you this. So if this pops up and you have this problem, make sure you go and drop down your rig and hide all of these. Then when you bake it again, you're not going to see all those cuts, because basically what it is, remember how the body was coming through the pants? It's basically the rig body coming through the pants, and so that's how it takes a picture of it. So you just want to hide it, and then it looks a lot better. So then we could press Image, Save As, and we'll name this Ambient Occlusion. Then we can save as image, and we can save this as the bake file, and exit out of Blender. Then we're going to go back into Sims4studio. Under Mesh, import our done file. Alright, and as long as these poly counts are under 15,000, which is the standard set by TSR, you're good. But the lower you can get it, the better. EA meshes don't go over like a couple thousand, so the lower poly you can get it, the better. So now that we have that, we need to put some textures on it. So I'm going to open up my photo editor, which is Photoshop. If you want a free alternative to Photoshop, there is an app called Photopea. And it essentially looks exactly the same as Photoshop, and it pretty much functions the same as Photoshop. The only thing I don't know how to replicate in this program, and you'll see once I go into Photoshop that it looks exactly the same and you can do the same stuff. The only thing I don't know how to do here is the normal map, so I can't help you a whole lot there. But we're going to go to File, Open, and open up the ambient occlusions. So there's the one for my shirt, and we'll get the one for my pants. And the first thing we're going to do is select color range, and we just need it to be, as long as it looks like this, you should be good to go. So press OK. And this is going to get rid of all the black because we don't need it. And we can do the same thing for our top. Select color range, OK. and then we can delete the rest of that. Now what I want to do is I want to give this some realistic bump. So I'm going to go to a photo editor or photo website that I pay for, and I'm going to look up like a shirt texture. Alright, so it took some time, but I found a texture that I was happy with. So now I'm going to bring it in just by dropping it, and then I'm going to shrink it down pretty small. And then I'm just going to copy it and put it together to make it a bigger texture. Alright, so once I have it all done, I'm going to click it and merge all of these together. And then I'm going to copy it. And then I'm just going to drag it over here. And what you can do now is bring it under your ambient occlusion and press. Before we do anything, I'm going to fix the ambient occlusion right here. So I'm just going to get more of this color and I'm going to paint it. And then I'm going to go with the blur tool, hold control and click here. And I'm just going to blur it. Turn the strength down a little. Go ahead and blur this one too. This one looks like it's going to create some weird shadowing. So I'm just going to change the color on this one. Alright. Okay. And then I also need this texture to go over the straps. And then what I can do now is merge these two together. Hold control and click here. Click the lasso tool, select inverse, and then delete. Then I can change this linear or this layer from normal to linear burn. And what it does is it adds the shading on top. So this is with it, that's without it. So I can file, export, quick export, and name this tester. And then I can do the same thing with the pants. So I'm just going to come over here, press Ctrl V. select inverse, delete, and drop this under the layer 1 and change it to linear burn. Press File, Export as a PNG, bottoms, tester. Then we can go import our tester texture. So under texture and diffuse, we want to click import, and we can get our top tester. And then we can do the same thing with our pants. So now we've got those textures on there. Now we're going to make the specular map. So I'm just going to hide these. And I'm going to take my ambient occlusion and press Ctrl U. And first I'm going to turn it all the way white. And then Ctrl U. And turn the saturation up. And we don't want it very shiny, so I'm going to go with a dark red. Something like that. And then we can change the opacity to like 5. File, export as a PNG. Call that the spec. And then do the same thing with the top. Now there are different ways to generate a specular map. This is just the easiest way I've found to do it. If you research on Sims4studio though, there are some different ways to do it. I'm going to change this to 4. Export as a PNG. Call this spec. Well, we can import now our specular. That is the wrong one. Same thing here. Now for the pants, you're not going to have to generate a normal map or a shadow map because we've deleted the whole body. So for the shadow, we can just put a blank map, which is just a 2048 by 4096 white square. And for the shirt, we need to go back into Blender. And we'll open up our done file. And what I'm going to do is click all of the shirt. And then all of this. That should be the entirety of the shirt. And I'm going to press P selection. Then I'm going to click on the body. And press A. And then I can go to my bake settings again. And we're just going to generate another ambient occlusion for the body. So we want to make sure our rig is hidden. So once you're under your bake settings, you want to change it to diffuse instead of ambient occlusion this time. And then we can leave this as it is and change the margin to 5 again and hit bake. After you hit bake, you should get something that looks like this. So I'm going to go to image, save as, and save it as the shadow. Then we can open that shadow up in Photoshop. Alright, so once we're in Photoshop, the first thing you want to do is just click this plus sign here to add a layer. And then with this shadow layer selected, we want to click select and color range and click the eyedropper. And we just want to try and get most of the shaded area. It doesn't seem to want to highlight the straps, but that's okay because honestly I think some of the shading with the straps creates some weird looking shadows that are not great. If you wanted to, you could manually select them, but I'm not going to. Then on our new layer, I'm going to go into paint and I'm going to get a gray, and then I'm going to change the opacity to like 30. I'm just going to color in these spots. Just like so. Then I'm going to press Control D and we can now zoom out and take a white square, a completely white square, and draw it. And it should look something like that. This opacity is still a little dark, so I'm just going to change it over here some. Yeah, that's better. And then we click File, Export, click Export, Shadow, and that's how you generate a shadow map. So we can import that. So the last thing we want to create is a normal map. So all I'm going to do is take this and I'm going to go to Image, Canvas Size, click the bottom and change this to 2048. Press OK and proceed. And I'm going to zoom out. You can grab a color, any color, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to drop it to the bottom and press File, Export, Quick Export, and call this For Normal. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the pants. Image, canvas size, the bottom, 2048, OK, proceed. Get me another cube, put it at the bottom, File, Export, Quick Export, and call that For Normal again. Then I'm going to go to Google and search up free normal map generator. And it should be the very first thing. You can click it and you should see this. I'm going to click batch mode and then get my top one. And you should see something like this. And then I'm going to change the strength to like 0.75, and then we can download it. And then click the one for our bottoms. And download it. Then we need to open up a program called NJob, which is also free. And with this one, we just want to open and save. So we can also get a good look at it, see how we like it, then go to File, Save As. And what this does is it turns it into a bump map. And we're going to do this one more time with the top. Make sure we like how it looks. File, Save As, top, and then bump map. And the reason we do that is to create an alpha channel. If we don't, so if we just upload the one that we downloaded, when we go to channels, there's no alpha. So that's why we run it through NJob to give it an alpha. So now we can open up those bump maps and you want to select everything and then click red and press Control C, alpha, Control V, green, Control C, blue, Control V, red, Control V. And then unhide, and it should look like this. And then you want to File, Save As, and you need to have the NVIDIA DDS plugin. So I'm going to click that. and name this normal map. And then going to change this down to interpolated alpha and save. And then we can close that out and do the same thing with the pants. Again, select the whole area. Under red, Control C, alpha, Control V, green, Control C, blue, Control V, red, Control V. Then we're going to unhide everything. Should look like this. File, save as, normal map. Change it to a DDS and save. And then interpolated alpha, save. So now we can import our normal map and then go to our pants and put in our normal map. Once we have all our maps in, we now can go to categories and make sure our categories are all selected as we need them. Now I know my shirt isn't actually leather, but I like to check that so my stuff is easy to find. All of my CC is checked leather. Do the same thing with the categories of our pants. Now the only thing you don't want to apply to all swatches is the color. You want to make sure your color tags are accurate. But everything else you can apply to all swatches. Okay, and then we don't have a thumbnail. You can generate one. I don't. If you want to put a blank one in there, you can. I wait till I'm done to make my thumbnails. And then you can just save everything, and the next step is to drop it in your mods folder and take a look at it in game. Alright, so once we're in game, we can put our clothes on. And so like I was saying, I'm just going to change the material to leather. There's my shirt. And then go to pants and change the material to leather. And here are my pants. So once we're in game, we want to just make sure that everything's working properly. So the first test I like to go through is changing the body type. I like to test EA presets because, as you can see, there are 100 million custom presets and we can't make our clothes work perfectly for everything. So I try to make them work perfectly for everything EA. So I like to do the big body. And as you can see, there's some clipping and a lot of clipping up at the top. And then you want to do skinny body and check. So it looks like we just need to fix these waistlines here. And then we also want to see how it looks when she walks. So everything's looking good there. So we just need to go and fix right here and here. So we can exit the game. So back into Blender, we can open up our done file. Looks like we opened the shirt first. So what I'm going to do is separate the body from the shirt because we don't want to move the body at all. So I'm going to press P selection with it all highlighted. Then I'm going to go to select only my shirt, press tab, and I'm just going to highlight all of these and then go into proportional editing. And what I'm going to do is just scale it so it flares out a bit. And I think that should fix that problem. So then you just want to make sure you attach your body back together. And then we can save it. And then we'll open up our pants file and do the same thing. There is no body to separate, so just going to put it in proportional editing and pretty much do the same thing. Okay, then we can save that one and import them again. And I just like to keep an eye and make sure I see the change. Then we save it. Save that, and then we go back in game. Okay. And we just want to check those bodies again. And the EA muscly body. Where is the muscles? Muscly. Am I missing? I just saw the body. Where is it? Here it is. The swole body. And as you can see, there is no longer any clipping. And like I said, the reason why I don't check all presets is there's just so many of them. And you're surely gonna find some where it clips with, but the least bodies you can find where it clips, the better. Especially always check the ultra skinny and the plump body, because a lot of times for the plump body, clothes don't work. And so it's nice when you can get clothes for a plump body that works. Okay, so once you've done all of your testing and you know that your mesh is looking exactly how you want it to be, the last thing you have to do before adding your thumbs and stuff is you want to make the rest of the LODs. Now, one thing that I've learned is sometimes when you attach your mesh to your body, it will create these sharp edges with your body. So something prudent to do is when you export your LOD 0, press tab and highlight the body, and then click M and click by distance and save it, and then import that under your LOD 0 so that it'll not have, if you see a sharp line like right here in the back, that means you need to do this step. Once you have your LOD 0 done, then you can go back and press X, faces, to delete the body, and you're going to want to press File, Append, and grab your other LOD bodies, which I'll leave a link in the description for you guys to easily access them. What you can do is you won't have your LODs like I do. I've already done them. It'll just be a nude body. If you want to export all the meshes here, that's your LOD bodies. But again, I will link it in the description so you don't have to do that. So I'm going to go to my LOD bodies, go to Adult Fem, Top, and first bring in my LOD 1. And so I'm going to click Object and then Studio Mesh 1. So it should look like this. You want to delete your bone and delete the other rig. And then just like before, you want to press Tab and go into X-ray mode and deselect. Then we can turn it back to solid mode, take a look at it, deselect the rest of it. And should get something like this. Of course, you want to go back through and clean it up just like that, and press X, faces. Looks like I can't fix those clippings right here, so I'm going to put in my proportional editing to fix them.
Once I have that done, I'm going to go to add modifier and decimate. For LOD 1, it should be about 9,000 poly based on TSR. This is already pretty low, so I'm just going to leave it. If, say, this number was like 6,000, you would bring this down and click here to press apply to make it lower poly, but again, we don't have to do that. So now I'm going to click the body, hold shift and click my sim top and press Ctrl J. And then just like I was talking about with the LOD 0, I'm going to highlight all of the body, not my shirt, and click M by distance. And then I will file save as LOD 1. And when I go to import it, I can just go here, get my LOD 1, and it'll import. And the reason you have to separate the body from the mesh rather than just using your nude body a bunch of times or decimating your original a bunch of times, the reason you don't want to do that is because each LOD level has its own body shape and they're different. So if I were to import the wrong body, it'll be super noticeable, especially so like you can see the LOD 3 body is very different. If I was to import something with the wrong body, I'll just do my original mesh. This is how it's going to look, and you can see the body is wrong because it doesn't match up. So you don't want it to be like that. If you have a situation like the pants where you've completely deleted the EA body, all you have to do is click your mesh and click add modifier decimate. So you just want to decimate it down and apply it. And for pants, there are 4 LOD levels just like with tops. So you will decimate it 3 times for LOD 1, LOD 2, and LOD 3. And you'll import it on your different LOD levels. Then after that, all you have to do is add your thumbnail, which I like to add at the end because I use the finished product to make the thumbnail. And then you're all good to go. Thank you for tuning in to another Fatal Rose Creations tutorial.